play zoning duty. He's going to walk into the support and say, hey, Mithy, look at me, stun me, do your stuff.
Knocked him away.
Yeah, ulti charged up, and he's not going to get rid of Elise, so Trick is still around. CLG choose to keep DPS on. Darshan just tanking damage. 2,000 health left on Baron. Tidal goodbye one more time. They should get Baron, and it will go to Counter Logic Gaming. Now for the re-engage. He looked for someone else, but can't find the damage. Glacial Pitcher comes out to disengage. Nothing picked up except the bot lane tier 2 turret.
It's just too dangerous for G2 to face check this fog of war against the team. There are traps lined up. Poppy is ejecting people, and Vladimir is zoning. Very good job there by CLG to stick to the Baron and not give up, try and chase people down. So Baron is going to really amplify their push. Caitlyn with the Baron, very easy siege.
This is something we don't do very often, is actually really praise teams when they set up well around the Baron and execute it, because it's so often like, oh, they lost to the Baron, 50-50, whatever. This situation here, CLG had, honestly had the perfect setup.
Yeah.
They had a great zoning from Poppy, tidal away from Nami, they had full vision. They never really gave G2 a chance to steal the Baron.
And to talk about the severity of that, so rarely do you see 10 players alive clean Baron take. That is rare in professional League of Legends. CLG executing it nicely, but Expect was able to take 2 turrets while that all happens. The gold remains close-ish.
Yeah, in order to really put yourselves in the shoes of G2 there, you kind of need to turn on that fog of war and think about all the different traps that you're running into to try and get there. Very, very scary maneuver, and CLG do come out with the objective.
Wow, Stixley going very defensively. I thought it was Hextrigger, but it's actually going towards the Mercurial Scimitar. The Quicksilver Sash into the Lifesteal that comes out of it. That is Mercurial Scimitar. I'm silly, but
It is.
yeah, I was thinking Ball of Mortius in my head, and I just like completely blanked on that.
Thank you, AD Carry main.
Yeah, I know. I just haven't had to buy Magic Resist in a while, and I just forgot how it worked. But here we go. He running back and forth. Of course, a little bit quicker thanks to the Cloud Drake. Hit up a bit. Losing 500 HP. Doesn't seem to care.
And you got 3 big tanks on CLG now. Poppy, Vladimir, and Olaf. Really, really difficult for Jhin and a Syndra to kill these tanks. Normally, they're very good at killing squishies, you know, flat armor penetration, flat magic penetration on both these champions. Well, right now, you have to kill a massive front line first.
Yeah, this is a giant steamroller comp here from CLG, and they really want to use the Baron buff to get the turrets. That's why they're not taking this Mountain Drake right now, trying to get the turret gold first.
That's going to be mid lane tier 2 down. So there's only 1 tier 2 turret left, and CLG gets that first 6 turrets right now. They're definitely sizably ahead right there. Over 4,000 gold now, once again stretching that lead as they shove their waves in. Mithy fighting for vision control in his own jungle just outside of his base. That's how choked off G2 are right now.
Only a good thing as a supporter when you ward there is how quickly you get back to fountain, get more wards, go back and place the same ones, because the enemy will just clear them.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you are G2, you're actually not even looking for late game, because we have Caitlyn, Vladimir again, and Poppy as well on the side of CLG, like insane late game Caitlyn. This needs to be a massive outplay for G2 in a team fight to win this game.
Exactly. What you're looking for are mistakes, unforced errors, openings for you to capitalize on, right? And those can occur around turrets where you have the extra damage to assist you from your turrets, but...
Okay.
Mithy blocks up the shot, so it doesn't get rooted up, but the turret's still under siege. Sadly for them, though, a Baroned up cannon minion is actually outside of turret range, so it doesn't full aggro, and that will eventually clear away. 2/3 health.
Yeah, they don't really want to take any chances here, so CLG backing off out of vision. They're coming down with the minion wave. You can boost up the speed of the minion wave with that Baron buff as well. So it's kind of a surprise siege right there. They return to the scene of crime, take down the last turret, and then they can rotate and grab the Drake as well.
That is 6,000 gold up for Counter Logic Gaming, who he was splitting in the bot lane, and even got the inhib turret down below half as well. It's one last easy recall as Baron buff times out for CLG. They earned 3,500 gold off of that Baron, and they can now take that clean Mountain Drake as they look for the seeds that might win them the game.
If you are G2 at this point, you start talking about, you know, what's our biggest item power spike we can possibly get to before we have to take that fight. Well, for most of these guys, it might be like, one more item, guys. Get a 3rd item down, and then we just go for that one fight. If we don't win it, we lost the game. Because the scaling in on CLG is great. They're going to get stronger and stronger. GA completed Onyx Smithy here. G2 needs to just try and fight, honestly, with, let's look at the next, 5 minutes? Otherwise, it's not going to get any easier. Once we have full GAs, full defensive items on CLG, then you're never going to kill them.
This is why, by this point, this is where you start to expect to see some risky plays from G2, right? Because they need to take any opportunity that's given to them. If there's somebody slightly out of position, you kind of have to throw everything that you have on that possibility of making that play and trying to turn that into some extra gold. Because there are quite a few extra standing powers here for CLG, since G2 have only taken 3 total.
Yeah, but but that's the difficulty, of course. If you look at Counter Logic Gaming's composition, you've got Olaf, who's immune to crowd control, Stixley with a Quicksilver Sash, who can drop off crowd control. Afro should always be in the back, and Hui and Darshan are honestly probably just too tanky. G2 have the right champions for it, but there's not the right targets for it, and it makes it kind of difficult to find that opening. Smithy trading blows with Mithy. Doesn't quite find too much damage. Trick battles back and forth, but look at that. CLG, once again, holding vision control on this side of the jungle. He eats up all the traps, and the rest of Counter Logic Gaming shoved down the mid lane. Kind of face taking a bit too much there, than a half HP, maybe about a more than he can chew. Has the Guardian Angel, gets rooted, might run out of HP, he's got to be careful! And that's the revive forced down, so here come the teleports, here comes the team fight. Stixley jotting away pretty nicely, Darshan joins the fray, and how much damage can they really find? Trick is low, Huhi looks at the chase line to expect, and there's the flash out from Trick himself. Huhi has the empowered heal available, puts some damage on Mithy, a nice stun comes out from Perks, a little bit, Snipes gonna come through, nearly kills him, Smithy, the Olaf close to dead. Block a shield comes out, doesn't block any damage, though it's a late trigger from Afremu, and it means Counter Logic Gaming have to recall losing a Guardian Angel. Ooh, Smithy takes a heal from Afro, gets away.
See, that's the opening they're looking for, right? Openings like that, and they do gain something out of it. Taking down the GA off of Smithy, popping the ultimate, they bought themselves a little bit of time. No kills, though, so there's not really any extra gold, and next time around, I don't know, it looks rough for your boys there, Ticio.
Definitely does. I mean, full credit to CLG. They've just outplayed G2 in the early to mid game. Smithy was on fire this game, and also good shot calling, setting up the plays we highlighted earlier. That was close to the best fight G2 could hope for. Don't pick up a single kill because of the tankiness of CLG. Now Darshan picked up the GA, so if you remove it from Smithy, he just takes it himself, and now you have to do the same thing again.
And remember, if CLG are able to take this game, it has huge implications for this group. One of the reasons why we're so sure that this is going to be one of the games that does decide that #2 seed is because Rocks are so heavily favored to get out in first place, and Albus Nox Luna are pretty heavily supplanted in that 4th spot. So CLG, breaking the analysts' predictions here would be a very big upset.
In front of the home crowd, no less. CLG wearing their American flag colors and their uniforms. The crowd here in San Francisco, you heard their cheers every time we announced the North American team during the opening ceremony. They would love nothing better than for CLG to strike the first win of the League of Legends World Championship here this year. And as the gold lead remains 6,500, they are poised to do so with Baron buff respawn.
We got 3 items now on G2. If you look at both Perks and Expect, 2 solo laners for them, this might be the best time to just try and fight. If CLG goes for a risky Baron and maybe fails the execution, that could be a way in for G2. But we saw CLG, last time Baron was alive, set it up perfectly and never really gave G2 a chance.
So many tools. When you're on red side and the blue team has to come through these small corridors, CLG looking to chase him down.
Flash to get away from the bubble. Tidewave's going to tag onto one, forcing the flash into the G2 AD carry. Trick is on the flank. Mithy going to get burned down. That's the first kill. Huhi is engaged deep into the back line. Mithy wearing off all the damage. Darshan, who is he going to punt out? Looks like he's going to wait for it and let it go back on a cooldown. Not too much picked up just yet, but that is still G2 missing their support. 5v4 for Counter Logic Gaming. Mountain Drake means they kill the turrets faster, and here comes the siege. Maybe the game-winning push right now, 32.5 minutes in. There's the inhibitor turret. The inhibitor itself now available as Darshan kites back and forth. Smithy getting a bit low. The opening on an Afremu. This could be some very crucial snipes by Sven. Misses one, tags another, and who's he going to get for this one? Looks for the final shot, and it's going to be the revive out for Darshan. He'll come back up soon. Stixley a bit low. He's got to be careful. A big stun. There's the root as well. Do they have the damage? G2 right now do not, but Counter Logic Gaming has to run away for dear life. The revives are in. Mithy's back on the map, and Counter Logic Gaming
he's back at base.
He's coming up to the left-hand side. Let's see if he can find anything.
Too far away.
It seems very unlikely as CLG are going to continue to run away. The Ocean and Cloud Drakes helping them get away and keep their health bars, something that won't get them killed. But G2 now control the map a little bit more. CLG want back in, though. They've got to slow on his Sven. Not going to be a stun just yet. Here from the mid laner. Back again onto Mithy. His exhaust going to be up, and he's going to find a target. Mithy wearing down, and it's 2 kills for Counter Logic Gaming. Expect re-engages, cannot find Darshan, and that's 4 already. Perks the last one alive. There's the stun. He's going to take him down. The ace for Counter Logic Gaming as they run down the mid lane to win the first game of the World Championship.
CLG alone in the enemy base, running towards the Nexus, the opening game of Worlds.
14-4 in kills, 7-3 in turrets. Despite the first blood, Counter Logic Gaming won the way that CLG wins. Control, strategy, shot calling, and teamwork leads North America to a 1-0 record at Worlds.
Honestly, a very calm and clean win for CLG as well. All through that teamwork. Smithy, definitely the point man, creating a lot of the plays as the jungle, but the entire team, great coordination and not phased by the first blood at all.
No, exactly. CLG came in, they had a plan, play around bottom lane. They first rotation the Nami Caitlyn. Super strong 2v2 lane. And they said, you know what, guys? Let's just play around these guys. And if Dashawn can TP out of his lane, Expect didn't follow twice in the early game when we had these fights. And G2 just seemed to be completely caught off guard, honestly. They were not ready to react when CLG forced plays. So really well played here by CLG, and they fully deserve to win this game.
And some of them were such tight calls as well. I point back to the desynced recall where you had Mythy block a bubble so Sven could get back, Mythy built a freeze, and then recalled back to lane. And there's a 20-second window of a desynced 2v1. Huhi and Mythy come down saying, this is our exact timer, the only time we can dive Sven. 4v1, he's dead for free, another 2-for-1 after that. And CLG played these scenarios so cleanly, so crisply, so quickly. And that's why they won.
Yeah, they just need a little bit of information to see that, support is building up a freeze here. We know he's going to recall later.
Yep.
Bot lane, Xmithy was already moving down, and that's just great understanding of the game. And you've also, of course, played these scenarios over and over. Not a lot of teams will pull off a play like that when they know there's a freeze and an AD carry might be alone. So really well played by CLG. And Xmithy especially, what a performance.
Yeah, I mean, Mythy from G2 did mention it, reacting to these plays has been something that G2 has struggled with, even though he feels like they're stronger, pretty much across the board than his previous team. It definitely showed in this game, and they did look a bit scattered, something they're going to have to clean up moving forward in groups.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, you definitely did see good points from G2 though, right? Expect winning his lane. We didn't watch it very much, but Perkz did win over Huhi. He was constantly up 10 to 12 minions for almost the entire game, and it started pretty early on in the laning phase, but of course the downfall was the fact that the coordination wasn't there, right? Whether it was late teleports or late rotations, CLG were still able to find ways to move first and to play as a team first. And even if you are theoretically outskilled on paper, 5v4s are 5v4s. You don't really lose those fights. These are very good players still, even if Sven is like one of the very best AD carriers in the world. Stixxay is, on the grand scale, not far behind him. And when you see those executions, they're still clean by CLG.
Aphromoo has had so much time with all of these players, and he is one of the all-time great in-game leaders. It just shows with CLG's play. They never lose calm.
No, exactly. And I think we also get to see this tournament, and especially this game here, how when we talk about one player maybe being slightly better than another player individually, it's really not by a lot. It's like small things, where there's a small advantage. In a game like this here, yeah, Huhi, okay, you fall down 10 CS. You're playing Vladimir. You're fine falling down 10 CS because late game, you're going to be way better. And that's exactly what he was in this game here. And Stixxay Aphromoo can definitely go toe-to-toe with some of the best bot lanes in the world. We saw it at MSI. Yeah. We're going to see it more and more as well.
And this is now the story I maybe want to tell about Counter Logic Gaming is whether you get counted out or not. At the big events, 2016 CLG shows up. Second MSI, most people predicted them to not get out of groups at the Midseason Invitational. Instead, they make the finals.
Most people predicted them not to get out of groups here at Worlds as well.
Very true. A lot of people put G2 above them.
And that's the point, right? Well, here you are getting ready for the major event when it's time to focus and be ready against the world's best. And CLG looked super sharp. They looked absolutely great. Yes, you still saw moments from G2 that were good. Again, they won top lane pretty significantly. There was some good split pushing there, but you have CLG kind of on fire again. It's that MSI CLG, it seems.
And now next game, obviously, is the Rocks Tigers versus Albus, a game where
the rest of the group.
Yeah, the rest of the group, where Tigers will be heavy favorites, and they will be favorites in every game they play here. But upsets can still happen in BO1s, like CLG, G2. These teams can still take a game off them. Obviously, a team like G2 needs to play much better than they did right now. Yeah. But CLG, if they continue playing like they did here, good coordination, setting up plays around the bottom lane, they can definitely take games off some of the other teams in best of ones.
Absolutely, and of course CLG and G2 will have a rematch next week to figure out who even advances on further. But now we're going to send it down to the stage where Shox is waiting with a word from CLG's AD carry.
Thank you very much indeed. Waiting here with Stixxay from CLG after that victory over G2. First up, congratulations. You were the underdog going into this matchup, according to a lot of the analysts, but how did you guys step into that one?
Well, obviously, we're used to being in the underdog position, so it's nothing new to us. and I feel like it almost fuels us to even play better. So yeah, it was pretty good.
Well, you guys played amazingly. Very interesting pick and ban picking for that very aggressive lane. How did you want to contain that bottom lane specifically, and how did that fit into the rest of the game plan for this?
Well, we know that G2's main lane, they play off as bottom lane, so we decided to pick like a really strong bottom lane to contain that, and it worked out pretty well. This world's meta, I think, is pretty hard to figure out. I think a ton of teams have different priorities, so you'll see a ton of different drafts, so expect more weird picks.
Expect more weird picks. We love to hear that. Fantastic victory. How does it feel in general to bring home the first victory for an NA team here in NA?
It feels really good, especially since like so many people doubted us, and it's always fun to keep feeling the EU-NA rivalry. So.
Well, you definitely dealt the first blow in that fight. CLG upsetting G2 here, fantastic. Talk to me about how you guys as a team stand into this tournament before MSI coming out of NA as the first seed. Now it's a bit of a different story. MSI was a very breakout tournament for you personally, but it seems to be a different atmosphere, and a lot of the hype is going into TSM for this tournament. But how do you guys view it?
Well, in my personal opinion, I think that NA is actually a really strong region. Some people don't really think that, but in my opinion, they're probably like the second best region right now. So there's a ton of hype going to more so like the top NA teams like TSM and Cloud9. But even though we're like the other Worlds team from NA, we're still obviously really good. So yeah.
Obviously really good, that showed in this game. Finally, tell me how you think this group is going to go. A lot of people have said, well, Rock's clear #1, and then 2 is going to go between G2 and CLG. How did you see maybe your opinion on that changing now that you crushed G2?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think Rox is the clear #1, and then the battle is us versus G2. I still think it's going to be us versus G2. Just because we won a best of 1 doesn't mean we're better. So I think at the end of the group stage, it's still going to be us versus G2. So. And
is it going to be you in the end?
Maybe. Just kidding, of course.
Of course. Well, fantastic. Congratulations on your very first victory here at Worlds. Sticks a fantastic victory from CLG. And now we're going to kick it over to the guys at the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, Shock. CLG victorious in Game 1 of the 2016 World Championships. But before we get into anything, gentlemen, I have to acknowledge the stellar 0% prediction rate that currently exists on this desk. And I'm sure the fans will be happy about that one.
I mean, if it mathematically 1,000 voices to 3 is a very unfair ratio.
CLG is like the Yugi, man. You can never count them out through their Millennium Puzzle. They show up every time it matters.
That is very right, and they showed up here. And before we dive into the gameplay itself, want to hit Champ Select just briefly, as we saw the Aurelion Soul banned out, but that Caitlyn pick that had been brought out at MSI for Stixxay, made popular there, doing work again here.
I mean, Caitlyn Nami's kind of a blocker lane to a lot of things. Nami's come into the meta because so strong against the melee supports. Caitlyn famous for her lane phase in general, so they went for the blocker picks. They played to it really well. But honestly, to me, this game was all about Darshan, and especially Xmithy or Smithy, depending on whether you want to confuse him with me. But regardless, great performance by them. And the Olaf pick we never see in Korea did work.
Well, yeah, you talk about that Olaf and Xmithy on it. Let's dive into our first replay, brought to you by Acer here in the bot lane. Turret dive from CLG, gonna come out on top 2 for 1 in this trade.
And this is exactly what the Fisi was talking about. They know that there's a freeze going on, and they get to see Xmithy go for a ward clear in the top side. Immediately, Xmithy reacts, and they see Sven being a little bit greedy. The wave should not be here in this position, and they go for the dive right away. And from this point on, this is what's going to snowball CLG's game.
A big kill picked up there. We'll see one more picked up here as Huhi comes into the bot lane.
Yeah, and Huhi right here, he realizes that the tides are turning in this fight. He actually flashed aggressively because he knows he has Nami follow-up. His team's already winning, and they'll aggressively chase into the jungle right there. But the good thing there is Syndra has role priority over Vladimir because Huhi was so on his toes. He immediately followed. He knew that whatever CS he loses mid or position, it's more important to play as a team and roam down. And this is the second part of this replay right here. They just aggressively chase on Perkz. What is Perkz gonna do here? You know, flash 1, dodge 2, Darshan comes in swinging, and suddenly it all starts falling down for G2 Esports.
And what I really took away from this game, you know, both replays we're going to see, is just how fast on his feet, specifically Darshan, was on the Poppy. The laning phase against Jace is always going to be super punishing. We see it on the screen, but he was always first to leave his lane. Knew his role. He was happy to drop CS 20, 30, 40, 50 if he can make the plays around. If those plays go wrong, you just lose the game because you're entering lane 7 certainly CS behind, but making the plays was what CLG needed.
And Crumbs, Darshan, this is the guy who was looked at with such a critical eye going into this international tournament. People saying he's the underperformer of CLG, but in this, as Papa Smithy mentioned, fulfilling that role, playing the role as he needed to against the likes of a Scary James.
Well, they find him being very successful in the Poppy pick, one that's not expected to be such a high priority in the meta, but of course just brings so much utility, and particularly it's one of the best champions at actually punishing the bottom lane, and I think that's really what CLG's plan was from the very get-go. That's why you draft the Caitlyn Nami right from the start, make sure that you can kind of neutralize the big strength for G2, which is that dual lane, and they did so quite well.